Hello and welcome to the stream. I'm Sean Mosen. I am a tattoo artist based out of Montreal, Canada. And welcome. If you are interested in tattooing, if you're interested in art, then you have found yourself in the right place. Today we are going to be tattooing this cool little design. We're going to tattoo. You can follow along. I'm going to break some things down for you. You can see an image up in the corner. That's the tattoo that I did on a client a few weeks ago, this cool little shark. And over here, I've got it on our fake skin, and we're going to work through it today. So what we're going to do in upcoming different streams is we're going to work on some fundamentals. I've got things that I'm working on, and I figure, hey, if I'm working on it, instead of just working on it alone, why don't I invite you to follow along? And now you can learn these things and work on it with me. All right. I'm going to just show you, I'll take you through some of the fake skins that I've got here just to show you a little bit of work, just kind of for fun. And then we're going to get going on the shark. So here, this is a kind of cool one that I did not too long ago. It's a portrait. I like doing portraits. If I am not busy doing something that someone specifically wants, then I like to work on these kind of portraits. Not like super hyper realistic, but it's kind of like a nice in between. If I'm not working on a tattoo portrait, then sometimes you'll catch me working on something like this. So, a little charcoal. Charcoal's great because you can kind of play around with it, you can move it around, you can get different depth, different kind of a feeling from it than you can with a tattoo. Sorry about the shading on the face here. I have lighting issues to work out, I have audio issues to work out, and all kinds of issues to work out. But bear with me, we've got fun stuff coming up. And if you're not following, then follow because you're gonna get some really cool things, showing you some things to avoid if you're interested in tattooing. This is another different style that's kind of a lot of fun to do other than portraits. Flowers are super popular, and sometimes we'll do some where it's a kind of a heavy contrast, heavy dark in the back, and all this negative space just works so well, and it makes the flower take shape, juxtaposed against that black background. So it's really cool. The fake skins that I'm using are called real skin, and the real skin works really well. It is one of the best things that you can use. There are lots of different brands that are available in places like Amazon, different spots where you can pick up tattoo skins, but 99.9% of them are trash. They're just unusable. And I know people are like, well, I'm just going to work on this until I can get enough money saved up and I can, get something a little bit better. Don't do that. Honestly, my personal opinion, don't do that. Fake skin is it's never going to feel, and it's never going to react the same way as real skin. But if you get something like this kind of a brand, there's a little bit of a stretch to it. There's a different feeling, a different texture to it. It's the closest thing you can get to real skin. And even though it is not going to 100% prepare you for real skin, it's still going to be your best option. And to use one of those other cheap options, it's really not going to help you develop any good habits. It is going, quite likely, to give you bad habits. So you really want to avoid cheap skin. I know it's super tempting, but it's just too hard to get anything done on that. Here's a fun little Japanese one that I did. Yeah, you're gonna find like saturating on the fake skin, like the really cheap ones, getting it that your black's black and not a lot of holidays, not a little blank spots. Super difficult on something that's a really cheap skin, and it's just gonna be frustrating. You're gonna think you're doing something wrong. You're not doing something wrong necessarily, but you're working with the wrong thing. So if you're interested in tattooing and you're gonna start off and you're starting to do some tattoos at home, fake skin is a must. You shouldn't be practicing on your friends. They won't be your friends for very long. And when it comes to that, think about it. You're marking someone for life. That is a heavy responsibility. Even if they're like, no, you're a great artist, man. I want you to do it. Don't do it. Okay, don't mark someone for life with something that really they wouldn't be proud to wear, and you wouldn't be proud for them to show off and tell everyone that you did it. So practice on fake skin. Get yourself real skin. There's a couple, like I said, a couple different brands out there. I think there's another one called Skins. That's mostly in the UK, and I've heard good things about that one, but I've never tried it. And you're going to see it's going to be a lot easier to shade, it's going to be a lot easier to work with, and it's going to be a lot more consistent. Especially, you don't want to be jumping back and forth from brand to brand or something like really, really cheap you found online and then something else a little bit better. And you're trying to get as consistent as possible with your efforts towards tattooing. So if you're trying for that consistency, switching brands like that is really not going to help, right? You might be having wobbly lines and different problems, maybe some problems with your shading. It might be coming from you constantly switching, and likely it's something you're doing in the process of tattooing, but it's going to be hard to figure out if you can't have some consistency on the surface that you're using. Okay. Some other things that are kind of really fun, like some different styles. That's one of the things about tattooing that's so fun. Is like there's so many different techniques and so many different styles of things that you can work on. And this is really cool. This is a bee that I kind of want to do. Have somebody that wants it. It's just a question of figuring out the timing. Then I think we're going to do that one, which is going to be really, really cool. Um, yeah, and moth. Moth also is really cool. I got a butterfly that's coming up for someone. That's going to be a ton of fun. Here's another kind of little like portrait, and then some Japanese work. So fake skins, you can see you can do a lot with them. And today what we're going to do is we're just going to work on that shark that you see in the corner. Okay. If you're interested in tattooing and you want to follow along and you want to follow my progress and you want to pick up a thing or two, maybe avoid some of the pitfalls of people trying to learn on their own, then by all means follow and stick around and ask lots of questions. I'm happy to answer with whatever I possibly know. And if I don't know the answer, then I'm happy to ask one of my mentors who will help me out and ask them to see if we can help you out. I've got a really good buddy who's a very well-known tattoo artist, and he has helped me a ton with a lot of different things, right down to, grabbing the right machine, which is confusing to everybody. You always see people posting on their online, and they're like, what should I get? What should I get? What should I get? As long as it's a decent machine and it's working, you can start off with something relatively inexpensive. This is a Mast Fold Pro, and you can see I've got it all wrapped up. It's not that expensive a machine, and it's really cool because it has multi-stroke. We'll get into that on another stream. We'll talk all about that. This is a single stroke machine. I think it's called a Z-Net, this one. It's kind of like a Flux. Those things are important. You want to have a good tool, obviously, to get a good result. But at the same time, a good tattoo artist can really tattoo with just about anything. Okay. As we're starting out, I don't think we want to start with an uphill battle, start with a bad machine. But something like that Mast Fold Pro 2 is really good. The Mast, gives you a solid machine at not too heavy a price. Okay. So I think that's a really good entry level one for you. I've got a stencil that has been placed on this paper, on the skin, and we're going to work with that today. In another stream, I'm going to show you a breakdown. I think in our second one, we're going to practice some line work. We're going to do some fun stuff. I need to work on my line work, so we're going to practice that. And what I'll do is I'm going to break everything down and show you piece by piece, like how you get the stencil from your iPad or onto your printer, and then run it through a stencil machine and then transfer it over to here. It's different transferring onto a surface like this than it is onto a client. It's actually easier on a client. You can use little magic things like this. Yeah, it's just speed stick when it comes to going on here, but never, 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 never on a client. And if you're not sure why, then be sure to follow. And I'm going to explain it when we work on how to create a stencil. And I think we're going to do that in our next one. Let's build up how to create a stencil. Today I wanted to do just something fun. The shark is just a really fun design, and it's a fun tattoo to put out and play around with in the first video. So that's why I wanted to do it. and hopefully it's going to be a cool one. It'll come out well and give you guys some ideas. I am open to topics. I want to go through, like I said, line work, how to do circles, how to do various fundamental things like shading. There's certain things that I'm working on, so I'm going to be practicing them anyways. I might as well stream them so that you can get ideas, and maybe it's something you want to work on as well. And at the same time, I would like to once a week do a design like this so you can follow along and do the design and see the breakdown. You can see on the shark, if you look at the image that you've got on your screen, not the stencil, but the actual tattoo, you can see the way that shading is done, which is really, really fun. And we're going to go through that today. I'll show you how to do it. And we'll talk a little bit about the machine voltage and the setting and the setup and how to do things. I see a lot of people asking online, and they're constantly asking, people on TikTok or other platforms, and they see them tattooing and they ask them, what's the voltage, what's your settings, what size needle. These are all interesting questions. They're all super common questions, but sometimes those questions are just not that helpful. And if you're starting out, you may not know why that's not a helpful question or why it's not a great question for you, because these things are very individual. So asking somebody what speed they're running their machine at, it's maybe a bit interesting, but it doesn't mean that's the same speed you should run your machine at. Okay, so I think just having a platform where little things like that, little bits of information can be passed along, going to be really, really helpful for anybody that's interested in tattooing. And I know there's a lot of you out there that are. So be sure that you're following and yeah, post comments and let me know you're out there, and let me know also what you would like to see. So we've got the stencil. It's already down. Now, what we're going to do, I recommend that you bag your machine and you go through the whole process. So you can see kind of like right here, I've got the machine wrapped up. I'll take you through exactly what I'm doing in a future live. So another stream, I'm going to show you why this is on, how big you might want to make it, how thin you might want to make it, or maybe you don't want it. I'll show you how to bag the machine just as though you're going to do it for an actual client. The reason that you should consider bagging your machine, wrapping it up, and treating everything exactly like you're doing a live tattoo is just for that muscle memory, just for that practice, right? You want to be so like second nature when it comes to prepping everything. And we're talking when you're doing a tattoo, you have to be very careful about, transmissions of diseases, and you have to protect yourself, you have to protect your clients, everything has to be sanitary. So you should be wrapping things up and getting used to doing all these different procedures and protocols to make sure that things are clean. That's one of the reasons why you really don't want to be a scratcher tattooing people out of your kitchen and not have any idea about bloodborne pathogens or about safety. Not only when you tattoo somebody in an environment like that are you risking, because of your inexperience, that you're going to mark them for life with something that's hideous. But at the same time, you're also risking all kinds of infection and really risking their health and yours if you don't know what you're doing. So it's really important to get proper training. If you can, the best training is to get an apprenticeship somewhere in your area. And that can be super, super difficult. Walking into a shop, maybe with your art portfolio, talking to somebody and seeing if someone will take you on as an apprentice is daunting. But there are online programs, there are things like that. Just make sure that you're paying attention and you follow one that has something to do with bloodborne pathogens and safety. There are also bloodborne pathogen courses that you can take in person and online. So you should be interested in all of that if you're interested in tattooing, because of course, this is your reputation and your livelihood and also people's lives. So you want to make sure that you're doing things as safely as possible. So in future broadcasts, what we're going to do is I'm going to break things down. I'm going to show you how you're going to wrap this up, why you're going to do what you're going to do. But you'll notice, like even now, I've got the machine wrapped. I'm going to put my gloves on. Part of the reason I'm putting the gloves on is exactly what I just said. I want to make sure that I'm, going through the habits that I would normally go through if I had a client in front of me. And the other thing is there's going to be ink everywhere. So I don't want to get ink on myself, on my hands, and it's hard to get off. So I want to be kind of prepared. I also want to have that same feeling. I want to have that feeling like I have when I'm tattooing. So when I'm moving my arms, everything, when I'm stretching, I'm going to try and stretch the skin, even though these skins don't really stretch, and they don't stretch at all like a real person's skin. Not at all. I'm still going to go through the motions and try to get a stretch. Okay. The other thing that we will talk about, and I'm just going to show it to you now, is practicing flat is cool. Practicing flat is cool, and it's really helpful, and especially at the beginning, it's not a bad idea. There's nothing wrong with that. But practicing on something curved like this paper towel roll, that's better. Because you are never going to get, well, basically never going to get to tattoo something flat like that, right? You're not tattooing a person who's like, just got that flat surface there. I just realized that is in front of that. Let me see what I can do for you so that we don't have this quite in the way. You'll also hear the dogs barking outside, which means my dogs are going to start barking. But it's a work in progress. We're figuring this out, so it's cool. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out a needle. The needles that I'm using today are same needles I would absolutely use for a client. You'll see everything is sealed up. So I'm working on getting needles out. So needles typically come in a package like this. There are all different types of needles, and it depends on the job that you're doing, which needle you're going to use, and also the specifics, the particulars of how you like to work, because some people will like a fatter needle. They'll like a fat needle with a long taper, which actually is going to make it more like a bit of a smaller needle. There's all different types, and there really isn't a right or wrong for certain things. There's just difference, right? Like think about how many, if you're a painter, how many paintbrushes are there? There are so many different types of paintbrushes, and it's not right or wrong to use one paintbrush over another, but depending, as long as you get your result, right? If you get the result that you want. So I've got some tattoo ink here, and I've got a cap. Okay, I'm going to fill up my little tattoo cap. It's a cool little skull. Can you check that out? See it? All right. So I'm going to fill up my tattoo cap, and of course this one I can reuse because I'm just tattooing fake skin. If you're tattooing someone for real, then no, you cannot reuse any of this stuff. You can also reuse your needles when you're tattooing on fake skin. There's no problem. You rinse them out and you use them there. See, get it out. You want, of course, to never, ever, ever, ever do that when you're actually tattooing a human being. Okay, so let's see. We get this cooking. Now, you're going to get the buzz of the tattoo machine. I am going to turn it down. So I'm turning the voltage down, and I'm going to do it for two reasons. One, it's going to be a little bit less noise for the broadcast, okay? So you'll see, and it's a little bit tough. I'm going to show it to you without the plastic wrap, but you see when I turned it on, I got an indicator of what the voltage is. So right now I'm going to do like 6.5, okay? 6.5 is going to be my voltage. I'm checking also before I start, I'm checking the hang of my needle. So the hang of the needle, you can almost see, if I try to put it over the black, you can maybe see the needle coming out a bit. So the hang is how far the needle hangs out. And you want it to be far enough that you can comfortably work with it, but it also has to be in enough that you're able to pick up ink. Right, so when I dip in here, I have to be able to pick up ink. If the needle's hanging too far out, I'm not going to be able to pick up ink. All right. Another thing that we're going to use is we're going to use some Vaseline. We always want to have some ointment on the canvas, so it's going to help with wiping it down here. I'm going to put it just on here. Now, with a client, I'm not going to use Vaseline. I'm going to use something like Easy Glide. So there's going to be some other kind of lubricant. But it's a good practice to get used to putting a little bit of lubricant on and then starting your tattoo line, and then a little lubricant. And, it's going to help when you're working with your client. It'll help today when I'm wiping things down. So whenever we're practicing, we're going to use that. I usually have a thing of Vaseline there. This stencil I put on today, so it may not be super, super dry. If you can, you put your stencil on the day before and let it really dry. I did the hair dryer trick. The hair dryer trick is you basically are going to dry it with a hair dryer. You dry it with a hair dryer and, hope for the best. But about 5 minutes with the hair dryer should more or less do it. Okay, so we're just going to get kind of positioned a little bit. We're going to see where we're at. I want to give you the best view that I can give you. Let's just move this guy so we're not spilling. Let's get this in a good spot. I'm already liking that a little bit better. You notice I've got a rag, like in this hand, a little bit of paper towel. So that's for wiping. Okay, so we're going to tattoo and then we're going to wipe, just like we would if we were working with a client. I'm going to tattoo, I'm going to wipe, I'm going to tattoo, I'm going to wipe, right? And we're just going to work on some lines. We're going to start, because I'm right-handed, we're going to start in the bottom right and start to work our way up. And again, the reason for that is one of the biggest nightmares is if you're tattooing on a client and all of a sudden you wipe off your stencil. So if that stencil, as you're wiping, is starting to come off, I'm working from the bottom and I'm moving slowly up. So it's going to help me to avoid, any kind of serious issue with maybe losing a bit of the stencil, right? Also, it's just going to be a lot more comfortable. It's going to be a lot easier working this way as a right-handed person. If you're left-handed, guess what? You're starting on the other side. Let's just take a look. Let's just do a little bit of a line, and then we can kind of talk a little bit. I'm going to put the machine on, and then I'm going to shut it off. So look, first thing is I'm just going to take a little bit of that, and I'm going to dab it on. Doesn't have to be crazy. That's also giving me an idea of how the stencil is. Like, is it in there? I'm going to pull a little bit of ink into the needle. Don't go crazy, don't overfill it. You'll know you overfilled it if you put it down and all of a sudden it starts spilling everywhere. It's like spraying. Now I'm going to pretend like I'm stretching. So I'm going to pull it like this, although that might make it a little bit hard for you guys to see. So I'm going to pull down. You can see my left hand, I'm pulling down. So I'm simulating that I'm stretching the skin. And then I'm going to put this on. As soon as I make contact, I'm pulling. And I'm just working that first line, and then I'm coming up. Okay, I'm gonna dab it, get a little bit more ink. Now I'm gonna work here. I don't know if I picked the biggest line. We're gonna go slow and with control. Okay, dab it off. Nice. So I was saying with the needles, needle size varies. You get bigger, fatter lines depending on the needle that you use. These are brand new needles that I just got, so I'll have to try them out, see what they're like. I was thinking about using one for an upcoming project on a client, so we will see if these feel good and if these get a good result. The result that I'll get on here is not necessarily the result I'm going to get on a client with them, but it gives me some indication of what they're like. All right, so we did a couple of lines right here, okay? You are still going to see the stencil. The stencil is not wiping off because thankfully it looks like it's pretty dry, so that's great. If you're working on your fake skins and when you're finished, you really want to get rid of all of the stencil that's on there, you can often do it with some bleach. So you're going to have to put like paper towel on it, soaked in bleach, and soak it overnight and then try and wipe it off the next day. I normally don't bother. I mean, yeah, you can still see it, but the purpose of it was to practice. The purpose is not, for me, is not to show people really the stencils. So I'm just going to practice and play and work out some ideas and some techniques on the mats. And that's it. I don't really care if you still see the stencil. Okay. So here, we're going to dip it in. I want to show you like another something. Before I start going here, let's just work on this. Okay, this drop. So what you can do, I'm stretching it again. And then I'm going to work, we'll talk about how to hold and how to position it. I'm just kind of mirroring what I'm going to do before I actually touch. And then I'm looking, as I get closer, I'm looking for the dot. And then I'm going to come around. So let me get a little bit more ink. See, that was a bit too much ink. And now look, I'm following it along. The crazy thing, we'll stop so that you don't have to listen to that sound, is you have to deal with the fact that the machine is vibrating, and at the same time the surface is uneven on a person, and you're trying to make everything straight. So that's quite a challenge. That's part of what makes it a really interesting challenge. Okay, so here, you'll notice that I'm kind of stretching with my other hand, but I'm also using that left hand for support. Alright, you can kind of go over the line again and sculpt it. I kind of think maybe these needles are going to be kind of good. They're kind of fun. So I'm slowly working my way up. As I'm working my way up, I'm realizing I'm not wearing my glasses. That might be better. Yeah, looks a little bit better. Watch the surface that you're working on. I'm working on this table. It's okay. Everything wipes off kind of easy, so it's not too bad. There's no rush. Little bit the ointment, like we said. So in this case, Vaseline. If I want to pull, let's say from here to here, I want to get the mouth. Nice, slow, steady, satisfying line. Trying to control the depth. That is something that is so crazy and so important. The fake mats, or they're real mats, but the fake skin will give you a little bit of that feeling where, yeah, if I go too deep or if I really do the wrong thing, you can kind of cut the mats. You won't get a blowout like you do in real life. And in real life, what happens is you're tattooing on skin and you go a little too deep. And instead of being in that second layer of the skin, what happens is you get too deep and then the ink spreads. Kind of looks like a bruise, but a permanent one. So that's every tattoo artist's nightmare. But it happens. It's such a difficult thing to just constantly be in that second layer because, I mean, think about it. If you barely touch, you're going to be on the top, you'll be on the top layer, you know, and as new skin is formed on that top layer, it'll look like the tattoo is falling out, it's flaking out, okay? If you go too deep, then you get this blowout where the ink just spreads and it's a mess. You got to be in that sweet spot, right in the middle, but as you're moving, the thickness in the different areas of the skin is different. So it's such a sensitivity thing. It's such a difficult thing to feel. And unfortunately, like, no one can tell you, or at least nobody's ever told me, like the one magic thing for figuring that out. You know, there are ways to control the depth. You can control the depth with how you place your hand, right? Like these fingers are here. I've got this finger behind the cartridge. That's helping steady everything. I'm holding with my finger and my index finger and my thumb. That's helping to steady things. So I'm controlling depth kind of like with these fingers. But you know, there's so many things going on. You have to listen to the sound of the machine as you enter into the skin, even into the mat, and make sure that it's making the sound that you know is right for the depth that you're going for. So it's quite challenging. So here, get used to, again, I put a little bit of ointment. You can see I got a line I got to make there. This is a good example because I'm going to go from here to here and that's it. I'm not going to go here, here, and swoop all the way down. This is kind of a big line. And if I just try to nail this big line, I'm probably at some point going to get uncomfortable. That uncomfortable is going to translate to a wiggle, okay? So watch, I'm here. I can just pretend to pull. I'm pulling the skin and I'm just waiting for that little dot that I get at the top, and then I push in. I'm trying to slow my hand speed down a little bit. I got a better line there. I kind of want to redo this line, so I'm going to do that. I've been trying to slow my hand speed down because in the last little while I haven't loved the results that I'm getting, and so I'm wondering, you know, what are the various factors that I can control. So one of them is low and slow. So turn the machine down and go slower. Um, you have to match the machine speed with your hand speed. That's why I was saying, like, you'll find a lot of people online and they'll be asking, all right, what voltage you're using? What voltage? Well, the voltage that they use is how fast the machine is running, but how fast the machine is running is relative to their hand speed. So how fast are they moving their hand? That's why someone can do a tattoo at a completely different voltage than you because they move their hand completely different. It's very personal. So if you see someone with like beautiful crisp lines and they say, yeah, I'm running at a 9 volts, that doesn't mean you should run at 9 volts. It's just, you have to kind of experiment with the speed. So kind of today's practice for me was I wanted to experiment with the speed that I'm running the machine at and, see what's happening with my lines. And I figured since I was going to do that anyways, I might as well have some company. So yeah, if you guys are enjoying this and if you feel like it's helpful, let me know and I will keep making them. I will make more of these. This is my first one. Honestly, I am trying to figure out Twitch, and it's not easy. Okay, there's a lot going on. I'll be completely honest. I don't know if I did anything right, if this is recording, or if this is even broadcasting. I think it is, but yeah. So it would be a big encouragement for me if anybody is watching and is still there. Then yeah, please let me know. Comment and obviously follow. That's the best encouragement. All right, we're gonna do this again. Now we're gonna go for this big line. So look, I put the ointment on. It doesn't mean I have to go and do the line in one swoop. Okay, I'm gonna set myself up. I'm gonna work a bit like I'm stretching the skin. I'm in, low and slow. I started to come out because I started to get a little uncomfortable, and part of me was like, nah, just go for it. And then the other part of me was like, no, pull out. And I'm going to show you how we kind of taper out and taper back in, especially when we're doing the line work. Basically, I started to taper out, and now I'm going to backtrack a little bit, and then I'm going to taper in. We're just going and concentrating on pulling that line and pulling it in a nice smooth way. Okay, clean this up. Be careful if you're cleaning something up. Move this. Your machine's still on. Move your tattoo machine away and then do your cleaning. Especially if you're new. What often happens here, a little Vaseline to clean up the mats. So you see how it's getting dirty? You can use the Vaseline, just clean it off, and then switch to a different one. As I was saying, if you're kind of new and you're working with the machine and you're working with this hand stretching and maybe wiping, it's very easy to stick your hand in front of the machine and jab yourself. I in practice on mats have lit up my fingers a couple times. Thankfully I didn't give myself an interesting tattoo, and yeah, definitely with a client you really don't want to do that because this is the needle that's been in their skin, and then you don't want to jab yourself with it. Then if they have anything, congratulations, you now have it. So you want to be really careful and you want to be mindful of that as you're working on this stuff. So if you notice, I started here and I started to work my way across. So now logically I'm going to work on these gills. Okay, let's just get a little ink. Right, little dab. See, like even here, look, I've got the needle, I'm moving on top, careful. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, we got a little drop of ink. Okay. I kind of want to go this way and fan out. Okay, just kind of like that. I don't really need to wipe it just yet. So if I don't need to wipe it to see, then I'm not gonna do it because it's a good practice. See, like there, okay, maybe, but with your clients too, you want to wipe when you need to wipe, but you don't want to do more than that. Now's a good time. And again, I'll stop the machine because I can imagine for when you're watching a video, the machine's going to be a bit of a problem. I'm going to work on that. Like I said, if you enjoy these and you want to see more of them, then please, follow, leave me a comment. And I do have a wireless mic. I'm going to try that. We're going to see if that works, see if the sound suppressor works on that. And I've also got my DSL camera that I'm going to set up for the next one. And with the DSL camera, I think I'll be able to use the boom mic from that. I've got a Rode one that just points at me. So hopefully that will mostly give you me talking and less the machine. But the nature of these things is you're going to have to hear a bit of the machine. All right, so we've got some lines going here. We've got this all done in. We can now start to move a little bit for the mouth and then start to move over here and then work our way to the top, okay? So that's the general idea. Now, remember, a little bit, just a bit, okay? Same thing as if I was doing it with a person. Now, I'm gonna get a stretch. Usually I would get the stretch like this for this kind of thing, and I would move the light. I don't like the way the light is. I'm just trying to give you a bit of an angle to see what's going on. Okay, we're gonna get another one. It's really important that your stencil is good and you follow your stencil. So I have the reference. You always want to have a reference. So I have, let's say I have my stencil, right? And I've placed it on the person. I still am going to have in front of me the reference that I'm using. So usually it's my iPad, and maybe it has the shading of the image and everything all done, and I'll have that. So I'm constantly looking at that, looking back at the stencil, the tattoo, and looking at the reference, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. Especially if your stencil has a little parts that's a little bit missing, then you want to make sure that it's that you're being as true to the original design as possible. So go back and constantly reference it. Okay, you'll see actually if you look at the tattoo is slightly different than the stencil, in that the tattoo here, the mouth is open, but as I was doing it, I was like, oh, I would prefer it closed with a little bit of shading in here. And I asked the client, and he was like, yeah, right on, let's do that. So we made a little bit of an adjustment, a change. That's okay. This is a guide. We're not locked into it. But as I said, you want to be able to check that reference. Okay, so here, let's go again. Let's get the rest of these menacing teeth in. Okay, you can do a few different things with the teeth after, kind of shading wise. I am liking these needles. It's a little thicker than the last few that I've used, and much thicker than the last one that I used on a person. So the first tattoo that I did on someone, I used quite a thin needle because it kind of made sense, and actually the owner of the shop was suggesting it, and I was like, yeah, it's a small tattoo and it's kind of small line work, but that small tattoo and small line work really made for a challenging first tattoo. A little bit bigger, thicker needles, especially as we start off, can be easier for us to deal with. It's not that it's going to be easy. I'm actually going to do this line now, and then I'm going to come in and do the teeth, just so that I'm constantly going back to that line. So now I'm really into a longer line. I'm trying to concentrate and get like the straightest line possible, no wobbles. But what I'm really kind of thinking about is that, being comfortable and just making sure that my line work is clean, and I'm practicing, like I said, I'm practicing slowing down. I feel like I was moving my hand a bit fast in my last tattoo, and subsequently the lines weren't what I wanted them to be. So I want to see if really slowing down is going to make a huge difference. And it's easy to start moving fast. Like, I've noticed myself a few times already here. I started off real slow, and then I started to go a little bit faster. So it's just a constant struggle trying to keep this vibrating machine from messing up what I'm trying to accomplish with this art. So that can be, that can be difficult. It's starting to look like something now, right? We've got some teeth. We've got this drop done. We've got all this done on the bottom, right? So that's really, really cool. Hey, what's going on? Thanks for coming in. So we've got this line, and we've got the teeth done. So we're slowly working our way. As I said, I'm starting on the right-hand side, and then I'm starting to move across. Welcome, and oh yeah, I do tattoos, and what I'm doing today is I'm working on showing everybody how I would take this. The picture that you see in the top left is a tattoo that I did a couple weeks ago, and so what I'm doing is we're doing it on some fake skin. We've got it on a mat, and I'm working through the same tattoo. And every week I'm going to do like different ones, and we're also going to work through some of the fundamentals of tattooing. So, and thanks for popping in, and also thank you so much for saying hi, because this is my first stream on Twitch. You're the first person I'm talking to. And I said it earlier, if this is recording properly and the recorded video goes up, if you watch it, you will see that I said, I don't know if I set any of this up right. So the fact that someone popped on and said hi means a lot. Thank you very much. So we've got this little line right here to do. I want to show you again how, before you do the line, even though it's a small line, we always want those beautiful, crisp, one-pass lines. That's the goal. Beautiful, crisp, one-pass. That means if you've got a line, you're going to go, and that's it. You don't have to go over it. But sometimes you do have to go over it, all right? So what you can do before you actually do the line is just kind of over the spot, get comfortable, and make sure you feel good before you do it for real. Oh, you make tattoo designs when you're bored. That's super cool. What do you make them on? Are you drawing them out like in a notebook, or do you use an iPad or something like that? All right, let's do this one. I'm going to do this line. I'm going to show you what I mean. So here, I'm doing a little line like this. And now look, pretend to get the stretch. I'm going to do it more like I really would. That's how I would stretch it. Then, I'm not doing the line. I'm just going over it. I got my arms in close. I want to make sure that I have, good contact. Then when I feel like, yeah, I'm pulling. That's it, see? And I check my line. Okay, cool. All right, makes sense? So now we're starting to work our way through. Okay, I could do, next one would be right here. Let's do this, okay? And then we'll clean up the mat a little bit. So we get a little bit of this. On the computer, sometimes people buy them. Oh, that's really cool. Very, very cool. What kind of tattoo designs do you like to do the most? What's your favorite thing to design? Sometimes it's easy to stop talking and just concentrate on the line. Even when I'm working with a client, we're talking, it's cool, it passes the time, but sometimes you stop talking because it's like, I gotta really concentrate on not screwing this line up. Alright, so now I'm gonna go, here's a nice big line. One of the things I don't want to do most of the time when I'm doing a line is do it from the wrists. Metal designs, cool. I don't want to do it from the wrist like this, okay? I want to keep my arm close to me, and I want to pull back with the whole arm. So I'm here, I'm going to pull back, and I'm going to adjust myself a little bit. So look, I'm here, I'm coming in, and I'm slowly pulling. And I'm stabilizing that arm against my body. Oops. Spilled ink. Normally I would not have my ink there, but for the sake of doing this, it kind of makes the most sense. So, alright, now we're going to work on this one, this little kind of part right above his teeth, Yes, you are my first. I was not joking. Thank you so much for following. This is absolutely, it's my first time on Twitch. I set everything up. I had no clue if I got it even remotely right. Unfortunately, I really wanted to run it through my DSL and have a bit of a better lighting situation. But it wasn't meant to be. And at the same time, I figured, you know what? Sorry, let me just stop this. I wanted to get the first broadcast up today. I didn't really want to wait. So as much as I'm going to be happy to have the DSL running and my mic running and all that stuff, at the same time, I wanted to practice. I knew I was going to do the shark today. So, yeah. It's your first time to be the first follower. Well, that's amazing. Hopefully, one day I'm going to have, 50,000 followers, 100,000 followers, and you will be the first. I'm also on TikTok. I have a self-defense thing. I teach jujitsu. On TikTok, I had like 400 and something thousand, but I haven't been posting that much. So now it's like 390 something thousand followers. If you look up Sean Mosen, so SHAWN Mosen, then you'll MOZEN. Then you'll see my TikTok, which again has like a few 100,000 followers. I don't know if I linked it. I think I linked my other social media on here, so all my tattoo stuff, which is Mosen Tattoo or Montreal Tattoo Shops. So, but yeah, it's cool to be on a different platform doing something, different. So that's fun. All right, so here I'm getting a little bit more ink, and although TikTok is fun too, but I like the idea of live because I like the idea of really being able to interact with people. And I do like the setup for Twitch. It's very cool. All right, so look, we've got all that done. It's a good idea now to go for the eye. Circles are a nightmare when you're tattooing. Yeah, I have my, you have linked my Facebook and my Twitter, yeah. I'll probably put my, look, I'm just going to work on that eyeball. We got a bit of a blob of ink there, but it ended up being okay. I want to clean the mats just a bit so we can use the Vaseline, and you'll see the other thing that we want to do is make sure that you're constantly checking that reference, right? So I'm constantly checking the reference. I like where the eyeball is. I know that the eyeball comes right up to the line. So watch. We're gonna imagine we're stretching, and then I'm gonna start working slow on this big line. Can I pull the line the whole way? And will it be straight? Woo! All right, what do you think? What do you think? I don't know, not bad, right? That's not too bad. On a person, I wouldn't go for it. Unless I felt 100%. But this is kind of interesting. You post yours. Oh, you post your artwork on TikTok. That's very cool. You have 2 accounts on there. One just for myself and one is for tattoos. That's very cool. I think it's a good idea. I agree with you. I think it's a good idea. That's why I have separate ones. Look, occasionally on my self-defense one, I'll post some of the TikTok, I'll post some of my tattoo stuff, right? I'll put my tattoo stuff and I link back to my tattoo account because, of course, I've got almost 400,000 people on the self-defense one. Some of them are into tattoos, so maybe I'll carry over some, over to my my tattoo profile. But for the most part, yes, I keep them all separate, right? So yeah, like this is going to be for tattooing and that's all it's going to be for, right? All right, let's work on the fin. Should be next. Okay, we need to get a little bit more of the Vaseline, and sometimes I put the Vaseline on the bottom of the hand here so that I get a bit of a slide, because on a person I'm going to get that slide, right? You will slide on a person, but you're not going to slide on my machine is cranked back up. You're not gonna slide on the table the same way. So Let's get everything going. I'm looking for a dot. It's a small dot. Like what you're seeing now is kind of more like a big blob of the ink that I can still run with, I can still work with, but it's not the dot. The dot, I don't know that you can see. It's very small. So when I'm working like here, I want to find the dot. When I see the dot, that means I'm right above the skin. And then I can push in just a little more and I'm good. But it's difficult because if you push too much, then what's going to happen is you are going to get a blowout. So not so bad on the mats, but yeah. Oh, you do tattoo designs, but you don't have any tattoos. You know what? That's not the most uncommon thing. Yeah, there's some people, they love it. They love tattoo artwork. They love it as an art form, but they themselves are not tattooed yet. There are some tattoo artists that are not tattooed, and everybody has different opinions on that, just the way that they have different opinions on everything. And I guess everyone's entitled to their opinion. So I'm just coming out here. I don't want to try to take the whole line. It's not necessary. If I could do it, that's cool. Obviously, you want the line to look like a line, but there are ways to go back. I'm going back in, I'm looking for my dot, and then I'm just gonna slide back in and try to make it all look like one pass. But the thing is, it's better to go slow and steady, and if you feel uncomfortable, then you pull the needle out, because trying to make it all one line and making a mess out of somebody is not going to be a good idea. Yeah, you might get one soon. What are you thinking about getting? What's on your mind for a tattoo? Oh, this is coming, right? We can get that top part in, and I'm going to put a little ointment on there. What tattoo have you been thinking about? Let's get these squiggly lines in. There we go. So we've got those. And then over here, watch our ink. Okay. So here, let's try and make it as smooth as possible. Low and slow. That's the mantra for this week. Low and slow. So low refers to the setting of my machine, and slow is the hand speed. Oh, the zodiac sign. That's cool. Those are always solid tattoos. That's fun. Yeah. How long have you been thinking about getting a tattoo for? I always tell people, if you've been thinking about it for a long while, if it's something you've really had rolling around in your head for a long while, then it's probably, something that you're not going to regret. It's something that you're like a few years. Yeah, that's that's always a good thing to hear. I think if somebody's been thinking about it for a few years, that's solid. Like, there's people that like to get something on an impulse, right? They'll just, they're like, I'm going to get ham and eggs tattooed on me. Why? Because I love ham and eggs. Oh, okay, well, if you're the kind of person that loves ham and eggs and wants to get it tattooed on you, then whatever, do your thing. Who am I to tell you no? But I don't want somebody to get a tattoo and then like they hate it, and then they regret it. That's bad. Let it roll around in your head for a little while. Thinking about it this Christmas. Cool. That's a good idea. So this is what we're gonna do. Let's play around with a bit of the shading. All right. You can see how up in the corner here, like right on the shark. Okay. So look at the actual shark tattoo. You can see like the shading of the tattoo as it kind of moves away. Right. We get some like lighter areas. So like on the fin here, as you get to the top, it's lighter. Yeah, so let's kind of play around with that. We're going to play around with this. I've got this shark facing in the other direction. I did the shark facing that way on my client because he actually has something cool. He's got a skeleton that he got in Costa Rica, and the skeleton is surfing and it's kind of leaning back. So the skeleton is coming right down into the shark. That's why we did it the way that we did it. It's coming into the shark's mouth, so it's really cool. Yeah, the hard part. Yeah, it's shading. Makes sort of, but I don't know. The lining is the hard part too. you know. So if we're gonna shade it like it's shaded there, then basically, we're gonna go. We can even do this part coming in first if we want. So let's see how I go in and I kind of whip out, right? And especially with the shading, I'm kind of looking at the reference, and you don't want it super dark. See, it's not super dark. I want to build it up. I want to build up the layers of shading and have some control over how dark it is. Okay, so I do a little bit and we check. I do a little bit and we check. There. See? So that even that, just like that little bit, kind of adds something really cool, right? Okay. So let's put this one in. Okay. Now we can work here. We can work on coming into it, right? So we're doing the same kind of thing. Just working on that shading. Okay? Yeah, it's kind of cool. It feels different for the client too, obviously, when you're doing this versus when you're doing the line work. It's all kind of different. And as I said before, it's very different, obviously, on the mat. Unfortunately, with the mats, you can never quite simulate what it's like to actually do this on someone. It's just impossible. Nothing, no fake skin, no matter how good. Thank you. I like the shading part. It's kind of really exciting because, everything starts to come together. And some people like black and gray. Some people like color. I like all of that. And for myself, my tattoos are all black and gray. I like black and gray on me. But I would tattoo somebody with color. Put color into the tattoo. It's cool. I like them. My personal choice when I'm doing one for myself, I'm getting one, is I fixed the point there. I didn't quite like that line. Sometimes when you're doing the shading, you can go in and you can really fix things up, right? You can see the mat's getting dirty. That's why I'm doing a lot more wiping in the shading. I'm going to shade again from the bottom going up, okay? Trying to show you a few different things, and how people take the drawing when they finish. How do people take care of the drawing when they finish a tattoo? Like, do you mean on the mat? Like, if we do it on the mat, how do we take care of it after? I'm not 100% following. Oh, yeah. Okay. So there's a few different things. I mentioned it a bit earlier that, let's say, like, these mats are kind of expensive. So I've got it in the bottom corner. I'm going to put another thing here. I'm going to put another thing there. I'm going to just squeeze as much as I can in so that, I'm getting the most out of each mat. And I'm going to use both sides of the mat. You really want to maximize your use of it. Unless, if you want, like, if you have something really, really that you wanted to showcase and you wanted to do right in the center of the mat, it was taking up most of the mat, like here. If you missed the beginning of the broadcast, look, let me just show you this. Okay, so this is a mat that I did, right? So I did a portrait. This took up the whole, thank you very much. So this takes up the whole space, right? It takes up the whole space. And you really can't see the stencil lines anymore because I really tried to clean it off. I tried to clean it off with this bleach and make it look nice. Even though I'm not I'm not putting it anywhere. I'm not hanging it or anything. It's just practice to me. I was just playing around with it. But at the same time, yeah, it looks nice. I'm happy with the size. I used the whole sheet. I didn't want to try and do this as small as that. That's too small for, a portrait like this. Okay. So for me, anyways, some other people, maybe they can do it like that. But even if you can do it, it doesn't mean you should do it. That's one thing with tattooing that's kind of interesting. I think people need to think about some tattoos, they look great day of, they look awesome day of, and they're not going to look great in 10 years because no matter how good you are putting the ink in the skin, ink is going to move slightly. Things migrate a little bit. And if it's moving a little bit, you're going to fill in gaps, you're going to lose a little bit of space. And if you make a really highly detailed tattoo in a very small space, it might look like a black ink smudge in 10 years. So you got to leave blank spaces, you've got to leave like some open skin, and you've got to leave room, and you have to create a design thinking about how it's going to age. Yeah, they're long term. They're quite interesting. Yeah, for example, fine line is a total. Yeah, fine line. I mean, again, it kind of depends how the person does it, but let's see it in 10, 15 years, right? Yeah, I like the big, black, bold, old school tattoos. That's my jam. I love that. You can see like in the shark tattoo that's up here, the actual one that's done, there's some negative space. This should hold up really, really well, and you can tell what it is from far. I like when you're like across the room, you look at the tattoo, you know what it is. It's like boom, that's it. And 20 years from now, if that looks like a shark, awesome. That's the goal, right? I don't want it to look good today, but not sure what it is tomorrow, right? It's got to just keep looking good. But other people, they're like okay with that. They're like whatever. They're like it looks cool now. I like it now. Um, you know, but I really think it should last. I think it should be something that you're proud to have, and I think for the artist, it should be something that they were proud to do. Let's see. Let's get it a little better wiped. Yeah, you're starting to see like that shading come in now here. So sometimes this is called pepper shading. Don't want to go too much. You can always go light and then come in darker after once I have like other colors in, but you know. There we go. With the mats, they get dirty. You need lots of Vaseline to clean them. Yeah. Yeah, that's why sometimes people will put up like, "Oh, healed tattoo," but it's like a few weeks old. It's like that's not healed, man. That's that's not quite healed. That's just a few weeks old. So we come in here and we just kind of very light work on the gills, like but super light, because you would want a little bit of shading under here, but I don't want to go in too deep. So like I said, it's easier to correct too light, but you're not correcting too dark. Now, the tattoo itself in real life is gonna lighten. So when I'm practicing and I'm playing around on the mats, I know that it's gonna lighten, so I could go a bit darker than I normally would. Um, yeah, I could go darker than I normally would, because I'm practicing to do the same thing when I put a tattoo on someone. I would go darker knowing it's going to lighten up, but to a degree, not, crazy, crazy, crazy. Yeah. Oh, your dad's got a tattoo? Oh, yeah. So he kind of didn't take care of it. Is it easy to take care of a tattoo? I mean, yeah, just be a little bit careful at the beginning. There's certain things that you definitely don't want to do. Like, you don't want to get a tattoo and immediately go out in the sunlight, like go to the beach, go swimming. Yeah, you shouldn't even really go to the gym right away. Yeah, you got to take care of it. Now they have like like really cool stuff. We have like second skin and all these great things that you can put on, keep it on for a few days. It just helps the healing process, right? It's an open wound. So if you don't take care of it, you really, apart from getting it infected and really having a mess on yourself, you can do things that will mess up the appearance of it, right? So you want to let it kind of settle and you want to give it time to heal so that you're not, you give it the best chance to look the best that it possibly can, right? All right, so I'm just checking this out, and we're gonna go from here up, and then we're gonna kind of like as it gets towards here, yeah. So try and make some nice whipping motions so people can kind of see, yeah. And you see, like you want to build it up, so I'm not trying to get the darkness that I need right away. I just want to. See that? You see those little dots? That's what I'm trying to get for everybody to see. So that's why they kind of call it that pepper shading. It's a little bit tricky, right, to pick up on camera, but now I think you can see it, Yeah. They were in the sun. This early on, it's good not to. They need to be in open air. The other probably so it would hurt. The healing stage hurts more. And getting the tattoo. I mean, tattoo shouldn't really be hurting that much after you got it. Depends. If the person really went in like crazy deep, you might be experiencing some pain. And yeah, it's a wound, so but again, if they did it well, it shouldn't feel that bad. How's that shading looking on your end, everyone? So if you're just coming on and you're not following, I'm going to be doing tattoo stuff. I'm going to be tattooing different designs and going over different techniques. So make sure that you're following, and we will break things down. I'll also get a poll going for what people want to see. And in terms of different designs, we'll do some different techniques and different things. I showed you not long ago, we did I did a cool portrait like this. That's a fun one to do, but there are some other things that are really interesting. Like you can do an American traditional. This is a swallow. This is like a really common thing, but I like doing these kind of things too. Just like kind of like a cool little creepy doll, Yeah. Looks hard to do. Yeah, some things are harder than others, right? Yeah. So, yeah, sometimes that looks better than the reference. Thanks, yeah. Well, the reference one is sitting on someone, and was a really fun one to do. It's kind of like a good size. It's a fun one to do on here. Yeah, gonna get a little bit of shading on this part. Going through a fair amount of tissues. There we go. Always get a bit of ink on the table as well. That's part of the fun. Wouldn't be too fun if I go through to the table, but talk a little bit more about machines next time. What's a good machine? What's a bad machine? It's cool that you can kind of get so much stuff now and so much information online, where before it was impossible to learn anything about tattooing unless someone took you on as an apprentice or took mercy on you and started teaching you. I'm fortunate to have like some really talented mentors that are great, and they help me out quite a bit to learn what I've learned. There we go. Yeah, you can actually get a really bad infection if you don't take care of your tattoo. And if it gets infected, you can end up with all kinds of different things. Also, if you get a tattoo in a bad place where the person's not, following safety protocols, that's why getting a tattoo in your friend's cousin's basement is, a good way to get a staph infection or something really, really bad. Yeah. If you get a normal tattoo in a tattoo shop and everything is done clean, there's not too much you have to worry about and not too much you have to do after. Honestly, they're going to wrap it up for you. They're going to tell you when to take the bandage off, tell you how to clean it. And yeah, you're good. You take care of it and you're all good. And once it's healed up, you don't have to worry. I never worry about my tattoos, you know. There we go. A little more ink. Let's see what we're cooking with now. So we got this, we got that. Yeah, let's play around a little bit from the back. Yeah, this is cool. Shark's a fun design. Thank you very much, Raven. Yeah, awesome, Raven. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for chatting. You know, for anybody who stumbles across this, I'm happy to come on and do more. And everybody who kind of, you know, comes in and chats and leaves a comment or anything, I really appreciate it, because obviously that lets me know people are out there, and if they like seeing this, if they're following, then that's going to encourage me to do more. And we'll do some cool stuff. I'm not just going to do tattoos. I'll come on and do some charcoal drawings with you guys, and some other things. Like, let's do all things related to art. So it doesn't have to just be tattooing, although, yeah, I'd love to share a bunch of cool tattooing things with you. I think it's also really fun to see how something comes out. That's one of the, you know, I mean, it's one of the fun things of, like, you're watching people gaming, right? See, like, look, like, this is now starting to become something it wasn't, right? That's part of the excitement. It's like, what's this going to look like at the end? Yeah, you see the picture in the corner, but, you know, is it going to come out like that? And the truth is, it's art. Like, obviously my goal is to do a good job. I want it to be a good job. And, you know, but it's not guaranteed every time that everything is going to turn out exactly the right way. It's just not the way things work. That's not life. So I'm doing my best to pull good lines. I'm doing my best to explain what I'm doing while I'm doing it, and show you guys the process. But yeah, like, life happens. So sometimes it's going to come out exactly the way you want it, and sometimes you might have to adjust some things, you know. You got a little wobble on the line. There's a couple things in here that I can see that I don't love, but, you know, we'll chalk that up to it is what it is, you know. Yeah, I do have a stream schedule, and it should be on my profile. So if you look at it, you should see everything there. That is one of the things that I set up. I tried my best to figure out exactly, you know, what it was I needed to do to have my account set up so it'd be easy for everybody. And yeah, there were quite a few things to figure out in terms of getting going on Twitch, but I think I did a decent job. I mean, it's running, so you guys are here, so we did something. We did something right. We're getting it done. There we go. So we're getting a bit of that shading in. We're almost there. Like, I'm gonna take this down a bit. Like, if you see, I'm taking it down a bit, and I'm gonna darken it up also in some of the areas. Right. Contrast is a big thing with the tattoos. That's kind of a huge, important thing. Oh, you get home from work at that time. That's perfect timing. Tell me, how bad is the buzz from the machine? Like, in terms of it being, I don't know, annoying. Because this machine's not crazy loud, but, I mean, I'm aware that it's buzzing. So, and of course you can hear it, but I don't know, like, how bad is it? Right? How annoying is it? There we go. Trying to kind of go a little bit. Just trying to get that shading. Clean that up a little bit. Oh, it's good. Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, if it's not too bad, I might leave it at this, and then if it really needs a little bit of work, I'll play around with the mic. But the problem with the mics, sometimes if you get like the noise canceling on the mics, it kind of messes with the whole sound. Like it messes with everything. It's not necessarily any better. You kind of, you replace like one problem for another problem. Okay, let's see. See, like, that's not too bad. I could kind of go a little bit darker. Like, on him, I went a little bit darker because it kind of makes sense, because it's going to, like I said, it's going to lighten. His tattoo's going to lighten. So, but on a skin like this, it's not that, it's never going to lighten. So I'm kind of closing that mouth in. Yeah, it's not going to lighten, so on this. So what I'm doing is I'm just trying to get the values to be, really what I want, and with the understanding that if I was doing it on a client, I'm gonna go a little bit darker than I would necessarily on the mat. It's just a bit of it's a different thing. Like I said, the mats are great. They allow you to play around. They allow you to experiment with some ideas and some techniques, things that you don't want to experiment with a person. See there, we're starting to get the mouth, but they aren't skin, Oh yeah, thanks. Do it. Do I have any hip hop tattoo designs? I got one here you'll probably like. Hang on. Oh, I had another one too, but I don't know if you saw this one at the beginning. That's kind of a fun one. Yeah. I think one day we'll do portraits. We'll just do portraits. These are really fun to do, Yeah, this one was a fun one. And I really do like doing these. I honestly have not yet. Ice Cube. I have not tried this on a person yet. The thing with a portrait, I really love a lot of different things about doing portraits. Like the idea of doing portraits on people. I love when they come out. When they come out and they look good, and it's just like, man, you nail it. It's incredible. But talk about working without a net. If something is slightly off in the portrait, it doesn't look like the person. And if something is slightly off, we are so accustomed to looking at faces. We are so used to looking at faces that when something is off, you just gonna know right away. It's like, nah, that's busted. That's not right. That's, and then it's like, man, what do you do? If the eye is moved just slightly off, something is off, that ruins the whole tattoo, ruins the whole portrait, right? Yeah, hip hop tattoo. Yeah, you have a lot of. I know that's what happens. Is people have a ton of ideas. They have a ton of ideas, and that's good. It's good. Have a lot of ideas, and then eventually you make those ideas come true, right? That's cool. But yeah, I like when people don't rush and they get what they want, and they get it from the person that they want to get it from. A lot of people though, let's tell me like, oh, I got a tattoo. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Who'd you get it from? And they're like, I don't know. The shop was like right around the corner from my house. I was like, oh, okay. But I always say to people, like, you get the tattoo that you deserve, and I mean that. And it's not necessarily a good thing, but it is what it is. Like, if you put no effort into researching your artist and you get a jacked up tattoo, well, hey man, you got what you deserve. You put no effort into this thing, right? So That's not good. And there's no reason to do that nowadays. Like, really, there's no reason. You can um, research someone, you can see their portfolio, you can know a ton about them before you go to their shop, right? You should have a really good idea if that's like the person you want to be marking you for life, right? So there's no excuse. Yeah, you have tons of time to think. I mean, everybody's got time to think, you know? Yeah. Like, just take your time. Here, let's just clean this up a little bit, and let's see what's what. You know, maybe it's done. Maybe it needs a little more here, a little more there. What we would want to do. I mean, it's pretty close to where I would want it. I would play around maybe a bit with the teeth. I want that negative space. Like I said, as things age, the ink's going to move a little bit. So I like that there's some negative space there. That's going to age really well. That's part of why I really love these designs. You know, tend to age really, really well, you know. Oh, a 2-pack tattoo would be really cool. Yeah. Yeah, I have actually thought about that one. Yeah, I think at some point we're going to do a 2-pack portrait. Yeah, I agree. 2-pack portrait. That is a really good idea. I'm going to get a poll up too for different things that people want. I think that'll be really fun. So look, if someone is watching this, they're watching a recorded version of this, make sure that you follow everybody that popped on today. Thank you so much for coming on. I hope that you like it. If people are enjoying these, then, you know, by following, you're letting me know to do more, and I'm going to come on. I'm going to do a whole bunch more. This week, we're going to do also some technique stuff. It's not necessarily going to be a design, but I will show people some different things that they can do to start practicing, and even some things you can do on the iPad, even if you don't have a tattoo machine, just to kind of start and play around if you're thinking this is something that you might want to do. Now the eye is bugging me. See, I would go in and I kind of want to hit underneath the eye a little bit more. Make it a little bit darker coming onto the eye. Just that little, you see just that little bit now, it has more depth, right? It's kind of cool, just that little thing, right? Yeah, that is a good idea. I have a Discord server for something else. I think I had it for my TikTok or for something else. Yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a Discord server, and that way people can talk, and we can talk tattoo stuff in there, and you guys can ask questions. If you ask questions on the Discord server, which I'm going to link, then I can get to them in my next live. So even if you can't pop on for the live, then at the same time, at least I'll have a list of your questions. I can go through it. You rewatch the live, and then I'll get to your question. All right, that's awesome. Yeah, right, that is a good idea. I dig it. Okay, and I'm happy that, you know, everything was set up reasonably well. The interface was kind of working. It was working well, and you know, we had some company today, so that's good for the first stream. I'm pretty happy. I'm happy with my little shark guy here, and I'm loving this little pepper shading and the shading here. That came out so cool, and yeah. I'm gonna get going too. I'm gonna get going. No tattooing today. I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna go teach jujitsu. So I got to teach a kickboxing class and a jujitsu class. All right. So if you're watching this, a recorded version of it, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, then please follow, let me know, and I'm gonna make a Discord channel for everyone to pop into and say hi and post questions and comments and things, and let me know things that they'd like to see, and we're gonna get that done. All right, thank you, thanks for being on here. Take it easy. Yeah, I'm gonna see you Thursday. All right, bye bye everyone.